Blog Talk Radio.
All right, so for some reason the intro is not working. Blog Talk Radio is screwing up. I guess we're not going to have an intro for the show tonight, but it's all good. We've got a lot of content to get into tonight. I'm very excited for the show because there's a lot of good things going on, a lot of good things that Trump is doing. The wall is being built. Muslims are being banned. Leftists are crying. Abortion is just losing its ground. Planned Parenthood is collapsing. Just everything that leftists love and they've been craving for the past 8 years, everything is crumbling. And it seems to be that we are headed towards a very right-wing and a very right-wing country that takes pride in nationalism. And Donald Trump has even said it himself that he feels like that every country across the globe should partake in nationalism. Put your country first. And absolutely, we've seen it with Brexit. We're about to see it with Brexit. And apparently we might be seeing it with California. But we'll get to California later on. Kelvin Gravely, co-host with me, and John Stutzman, as usual. They are with me here tonight. How are you fellas doing this evening? How are you fellas doing after the first week of Trump's presidency?
I'm great, man.
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
You guys don't sound well. I can understand why Kelvin wouldn't, but John, you don't sound very enthused with the president's first week.
To tell you the truth, winning all week can be very exhausting. There's just been so many good things. It's just been ridiculously hard to keep up with it all. Trump is just moving so fast and so quickly. I love it. I can't. I mean, I'm almost speechless because things are just so good, if that makes sense.
Here are the 17 orders that he has signed so far. Let's go through it one at a time. So the first one is multi-pronged orders on border security and immigration enforcement, including the alteration of a USA-Mexico border wall, the stripping of federal grant money to sanctuary cities, hiring 5,000 more Border Patrol agents, ending catch-and-release policies for illegal immigrants, and reinstating local and state immigration enforcement partnerships. I have the biggest smile on my face while reading all of this stuff. But just for the devil's advocate, because I know that this right here is going to end up starting the debate, let's go ahead and go towards Mr. Leftist himself, Kelvin Gravely, and see his opinion, and then we'll go from there. So, Kelvin, go ahead and give your opinion on the executive order that I had just read off.
Well, I mean, the border wall, you know how ludicrous I think that sounds, you know, trying to block off 25% of our cardinal directions while not touching the air, while not touching the underground portion of it. I mean, it's silly, really. We don't just have illegal immigrants coming from Mexico, but we're only putting a wall on that side. So I thought that was pretty telling of who he's really against, because it's not illegal immigrants.
Yeah, but there's not a large block of Canadian immigrants committing crimes.
Well, there's not of illegal Mexican immigrants either. So.
Well, statistically, yes, there is. You're actually factually
Yeah, statistically there are.
Actually, there's not. The statistics say that they
actually
commit crimes at the same rate
or
listen, at the same rate or lower than regular citizens. There's no statistics saying that Mexican immigrants are somehow more violent or dangerous. That's nonsense. And then on top of that, he said he's hiring 5,000 more Border Patrol agents, which is fine and dandy and all, but I was under the impression that he was doing a federal freeze on hiring. So isn't that kind of contradictory? And, you know, it seems dumb to me. Like, there's so many things you could be worried about, and this is what he's trying to put $20 billion plus into. It just seems loony tune.
So let me ask you, in your opinion, what should we be focusing on?
I think we should be focusing on pulling out of the Middle East.
Pulling out?
Agree.
Yeah. And then on top of that,
and
what you should do after that is audit the Federal Reserve. Like that's real high on my list of priorities. The Federal Reserve is a problem.
That.
Okay.
We should pull out after we take care of ISIS. Once we take care of ISIS, then we can go ahead and pull out. Stay out of the Middle East. Leave them alone. I'm tired of policing them. I'm tired of helping them out. Let them take care of themselves.
That I agree with.
Just like we're going to take care of our own citizens, our own Americans. But eventually, yes, I do agree with you. Now, you brought up something about the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, the Federal Reserve is a private company, or a private organization, rather, that prints all of our money. So, and then they loan us money at interest. So every dollar we have to pay for with $1 and some change. It's Looney Tune. I mean, it doesn't make sense from a basic standpoint, let alone when you get into the trillions of dollars. But this private organization that is not a government entity, by the way, they're in charge of our finances, and we're going to forever be in debt to them. And I feel like that's pretty basic stuff, but people don't realize really what the Federal Reserve is.
So just those two issues?
Well, I mean, you could go on, but as far as priority goes, I think those two are top of the top. But, I mean, you could look at if you could question the Electoral College and, you know, how useful that is. And I know Trump has even said something about it here lately, despite the Electoral College helping him win. I mean, there's so many things. You could look at gerrymandering. You could look at money in politics. You know, there's so many things that we have that could use our attention. And I don't think top of the list is the U.S.-Mexican border. I really don't understand how that works. But, yeah.
John, do you agree with Trump or do you agree with Kelvin that the wall should be a top priority?
I agree with Trump. I mean, it's not the only top priority, obviously, but it definitely needs to be up there. And I side with you, Andrew, in that the statistics do say that we're getting more crime from illegal Mexicans than from illegal Canadians. That's just ludicrous to think that those statistics don't exist, because they do. You know, I don't know. What can you say? I mean, I can't say anything bad about what he's done so far. I'm waiting.
Oh no, it's great. It's great.
So
this
far,
week has been a great week.
Yeah,
absolutely,
really
absolutely. Moving on, 2 orders reviving the Keystone XL pipeline and Dakota Access pipelines. He also signed 3 other related orders that would expedite the environmental permitting process for infrastructure projects related to the pipelines, direct the Commerce Department to streamline the manufacturing permitting process, and give the Commerce Department 180 days to maximize the use of U.S. steel in the pipeline. This is going to create, I believe if the numbers are right, over 28,000 jobs. This is going to enrich us in oil, more oil for us to sell, which means more money to pump into the economy. John, what do you think about these orders passing the Keystone and the Dakota Access pipeline?
Well, I think they're both great, but the Dakota Access I particularly think is just hilarious, and I love it because all those people did all those protests, and they actually ruined that environment while they were doing it, camping out there and being sleazeballs, thinking, and they whined and moaned, and they thought they got their way. Guess what, suckers? Now it's time for reality.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
I love it. I love it.
Kelvin.
Yeah, man. You mentioned the 28,000 jobs fact or figure rather, and I thought that was interesting because I searched pretty exhaustively looking for some sort of basis in reality where Trump pulled that number from, and I can't find it nowhere. So even from the State Department and the actual company in charge of it, which is TransCanada, I believe, neither one of them had a number near as high. They both said that if the pipeline was built within a year, it would have 3,900 jobs. If it was spread out over 2 years, it would be 1,950 jobs. So quite a bit less than the 28,000 that he mentioned, even at the peak capacity, which is the buildup. But just year-round maintenance kind of thing, it would only provide 35 full-time permanent jobs and 15 temporary jobs. So together, that between that full-time and temporary thing, you have 50 jobs created, not near 28,000. And even if you built it all in a year, you could have that 50 with another 3,900 to build it, and you're still not even breaking 4,000, let alone 28,000. So I wish Trump would, cite his sources, because nobody seems to know where that number came from.
Well, just out of curiosity, what is your source?
Well, right now I'm on CNN Money, but I mean, you could go to.
Oh, okay. All right. We're gonna move on from there. Moving on. In order to reinstate
these numbers came from the State Department.
A ban on federal
No. CNN Money. These came from the State Department and Trans Canada. Trans Canada and the State Department.
But has gone into it out of effect, depending
I think it's funny
on the party
because we all know CNN has nothing. They know nothing about money.
This came from the state.
Is like an oxymoron.
This came from the State Department and Trans Canada, the company in charge of the pipeline.
I can't even take that serious.
I can't either.
Trans Canada, the actual company in charge of the pipeline, has put these facts and figures out.
Oh, man. Oh.
I mean, you also have it at Business Insider.
Oh, Christ.
You got it on Fox News. You got it on Slate. You got it on CBS. I mean, there's every website. NPR has the same information, USA Today. That's all because it comes from the State Department and from the actual company in charge of it, Trans Canada. So it doesn't matter if you don't like
John,
it. If the facts are true,
John,
it is what it is.
John, you got to love that, though. CNN Money.
CNN Money, really? They almost don't have any money. Like I don't even. Oh wow.
Anyways, moving on.
Thanks for that joke.
In order, that was a pretty good laugh. In order to reinstate the so-called Mexico City policy, a ban on federal funds to international groups that perform abortions or lobby to legalize or promote abortion. The policy was instituted in 1984 by President Reagan, but has gone into and out of effect depending on the party in power in the White House. We are protecting the babies. Absolutely, I love this move. Another great thing that President Trump is doing. Kelvin, go ahead.
I mean, again, it's silly. It's not taking care of the problem.
Yes,
it's just
protecting babies.
exacerbating.
I hear you.
No, it's actually exacerbating the problem.
Murder's not a problem?
It's exacerbating the problem because it's not murder. You're looking at the legal definition.
Well,
what it is it's putting more babies into the public orphanage system in which taxpayer dollars go to fund it. So really, if you don't like paying taxes, this is the dumbest thing you can do.
No, this is that. But I'm willing to pay in order for our country not to sanction murdering children. I'm willing taxes to go up for that.
I just think it's interesting.
I don't want to pay for the murder. I want to pay for them to live.
Yes. Okay. Well, think about this. If someone's wife is going to die at childbirth, do you think they should just die and have this child? Or if somebody was raped, should they have that child and be reminded of the crime that was perpetrated on them every day of their life after that?
Of course it should be like the Reagan policy, where there are certain situations where an abortion would be allowed,
like
rare
circumstances.
Stuff. But just because, exactly, statistically that is the case. I just don't think it's right for women to go out here. Feel free to have sex with whoever they want, and just because they're having irresponsible sex, they get pregnant, they choose to murder a baby because it's an inconvenience.
Yeah.
Just because a little innocent baby is an inconvenience to you does not give you the right to be a murderer. But go ahead, John.
Absolutely.
No, not true. A group of cells is not a baby.
I believe I said
it actually is. Because actually, to be honest, cells are living, number one. Number two, your sperm is alive. Okay.
So that's masturbating.
That fetus.
So masturbating is abortion, right? Is that what you're saying? Masturbating is abortion? Are you saying that masturbating is abortion?
Some people would argue that.
This is a very quote from what he said. He said that sperm was alive. So if that's the case, every time someone masturbated, they're committing abortion.
They are alive. They are alive, but they're not human yet. They're not human until they fertilize the egg.
So what you're saying is that you should be charged as a mass murderer for jerking off.
No.
Okay, can we please talk about the
it's not human until it fertilized the egg.
But
until conception.
We're talking about sperm right now. Let's talk about the actual topic of abortion, the actual topic of a little baby in a woman's body with a heartbeat. Let's not talk about sperm here. Let's not do that.
You don't want to talk about masturbation.
I mean, I don't understand the point of talking about that.
Because here's the point. The point is it's living, and it becomes human at conception.
I mean, that's debatable. I wouldn't say that. It's debatable, really, because what the argument that I hear is that if a fetus cannot survive on the outside of the womb by itself, then therefore it's not capable of life. So
here's the thing: there's humans that can't survive out on the full adults that can't survive on their own without medical equipment. Same thing. Just because they can't survive outside the womb does not mean that they're not viable.
Well, I don't know. How do they not survive outside of the womb? I don't understand. Go ahead.
People that are hooked up to respirators and whatnot.
So at no point were they living?
Well, if they're on, no, I'm saying adults that are on life support, on things like that. They can't survive without that. So then, can we abort them now too?
Well, I mean that's actually a debatable topic as well, because there are some people that want to be able to kill themselves or end their own lives to get out of the suffering. So, I mean, Republicans aren't usually for that either, but, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
This is just straight out of curiosity. I'm not trying to challenge any position that you're taking or whatever it may be. This is just a straight-up question out of curiosity. If somebody wanted to commit suicide, do you feel like that they have the right to do it because it's their body?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whoa.
Interesting question. I mean, answer.
Whoa.
That's interesting, though. That's interesting.
Why not? I mean, I didn't see a problem.
I can't. That is something, John, that I can't debate that. He's kind of got a point. I mean, I don't believe in murdering babies. You're just killing yourself with suicide. A baby is not involved with it.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Kevorkian was really, really controversial, but I thought, he was doing people a favor. These people were not. No. These are people with terminal illnesses. Like, they are suffering every day of their life. They don't want to live in pain any longer.
Not always. There's people that are on life support temporarily, and then they actually survive and are okay later on.
Well, I feel like that's up to the person who's going through it. I mean, if somebody has got Parkinson's and they can't barely move, they need help to do basic functions like brush their teeth. But I bet you're also against people shooting deer for food too, aren't you? No, why would I do that? Right. I'm from a redneck town, man. This is.
All right, so we're kind of getting away from the original debate, so let's go ahead and move on. The next executive order, he signed a notice that the U.S. will begin withdrawing from the Trans-Pacific Partnership trade deal. Trump called the order a great thing for the American worker. Kelvin was a big Bernie guy. Bernie did not like TPP. Obviously, Trump's people did not like TPP, so I'm assuming that we're all in agreement here on this.
Yeah, I'll say I am, but I think it is interesting to put into question that some people were for TPP because they thought that if we didn't take control of that Eastern Asian market, then that meant that China would be in the forefront to do so. So it was kind of more of a competition with China than anything. But no, I wasn't ever for TPP personally.
Well, this gives China the leverage, though, to create all the rules.
Yeah,
that's one of the big issues. But other than that, it's a great move. But that is the only issue that I see.
I couldn't hear that. I'm sorry. What did you say, Andrew?
China gets to create all of the rules. for the trade market in the Pacific.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, I think we'll be able to counteract that. But, yeah, no, I know. I get it. But TPP was not a good thing for us. I mean.
Oh, I agree.
No, but
Absolutely.
I get the China concern. I do.
Now, this is something that Kelvin said was a bit of a contradiction, John, so we'll go to you first. In order imposing a hiring freeze for some federal government workers as a way to shrink the size of government, this excludes the military, as Trump noted at the signing. So, John, is this a contradiction?
I'm not sure. I mean, I really don't think so. Mean, you know, it is what it is. I mean, I want to actually hear what Kelvin says first, to be honest with you.
Well, Kelvin's already said how he feels, that it's a contradiction.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he wants 5,000 new Border Patrol agents, and he said before that he wants to do a federal hiring freeze because he says the federal government is too big and spends too much money. And I mean, you can't.
Well, the thing is,
you can't do a hiring freeze and hire 5,000 people. That's different things.
I want you to be clear that the hiring freeze was specific, though. He said except for defense.
No,
Border
he said
Patrol is
except
defense.
for military. Except for military. Border Patrol is not military.
I think what he meant is defense. And so I don't think it's really, you know, defense needs to always be at the top, and he said that many, many times. I don't think it's a contradiction. No. I think he meant defense, and of course we're going to hire more. That's not the kind of hiring freeze he was talking about. He's talking about adding more levels of bureaucracy and all this. You know, Border Patrol is obviously defense, and we obviously aren't going to cut back on that.
The next executive order, an order that directs federal agencies to ease the regulatory burdens of Obamacare. It orders agencies to waive, defer, grant exemptions from, or delay the implementation of any provision or requirement of Obamacare that imposes a fiscal burden on any state or a cost, fee, tax, penalty, or regulatory burden on individuals, families, healthcare providers, health insurers, patients, recipients of healthcare services, purchasers of health insurance, or makers of medical devices, products, or medications. Kelvin, we'll start with you.
I mean, is this? Oh boy. Okay. Basically, it's like this. I've heard them say for the past however many years that they thought Obamacare was awful and that, you know, the Affordable Care Act was just going to be such a burden on people. But now, 20 million people inside of, you know, benefiting from the program, 20 million people later, they're deciding that, hey, we still need to get rid of this. However, we have no alternative. And all of this time of us complaining, we have not thought up a single alternative to put in place for it. And I feel like it would be really, really unprofessional to remove a plan that's benefiting 20 million people while having nothing on the back burner to replace it with. And I feel like there's a lot of Republicans that have said the same. I mean, I remember Rand Paul had said something similar. So it's not just me saying they don't have an alternative. There's actual Republicans saying it too. And they know it's irresponsible to take away these people's health care without giving them something in return.
John. All right, so it looks like John's call or phone has just dropped, of course. So we'll move on.
John.
Bans, the next executive order, he bans refugees and residents from 7 Muslim countries. All right, what's going on with John? Before we even get to this, what is going on with John?
Hold on.
First, he's saying he's having a hard time hearing. He can't hear what's going on, and it's going to be kind of hard for him to hear what's going on when he's not called in. You must first call in before you hear something.
Yeah, but
I mean, I don't understand.
I don't understand. He must not be looking at his phone, or maybe his phone's acting funny. He might have an iPhone. That could be it. Oh, man.
All right. So John is saying, yeah, he's going to call back, but he has not called back yet. I'm not seeing a phone of his. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and move on until. Anyways, Donald Trump signed the executive order to ban refugees and residents from 7 Muslim nations. I think everybody by now knows how I feel about this. I got called a racist several times last night, even though Islam is not a race. So I did find that pretty interesting. But absolutely, when ISIS has said multiple times that they are going to be sneaking in their people, the refugees, over here to the United States, it's common sense. Common sense. Kelvin, I'm sure that you would disagree, though, with this common sense.
Oh, man. Well, I'm not a fan of the ban, personally. I mean, I think it goes against the Constitution in many ways. But one thing that I do think is kind of foremost that should be mentioned is the fact that he's banned in 7 countries. And what he said, this is a quote, total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States. And that's from these 7 countries that he had banned. However, there was a notable exception of Egypt, Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Saudi Arabia. These are all, yeah. And you realize that during 9/11,
yeah, I already know
of the 19, yeah, so of the 19 hijackers, 15 were from Saudi Arabia. Yet that country is not banned on this list of protecting the country from terrorists. Even though the biggest terrorist attack, the majority of the terrorists that participated in that were from a country that is not banned. Don't you find that somewhat, I don't know, odd? Is that, how do you explain that?
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely, especially when Trump has businesses in each of these countries. Absolutely.
Oh, man. It's just...
Oh,
yeah,
I'm with you on that.
I'm
100% with you on that.
Yeah, and so that, and then on the other one, you know, you got in the Constitution, you got your protection of your freedom or your freedom of religion, and it says that, you know, the government or the Constitution actually guarantees the freedom from governmental interference in both private and public religious affairs of all kinds. So right now, it looks like the government is putting itself in the religious realm and protecting one religion's opinions over that of another. And again, that's just unconstitutional from a basic standpoint. But on top of that, it's not even a fair punishment that he's given these Muslim countries. And you know, it just makes you kind of question, what is he really doing it for? You know, because clearly he's not worried about the safety.
All right, so John, are you with us now? Are you good?
Yes, I am. I can hear a little bit better now.
Right.
I think my ears are...
All right, so let me...
something.
Okay, so let me explain to you what we've covered so far, then let me ask you a follow-up question after that. So basically, we've been talking about this executive order, how Donald Trump has banned refugees from 7 different Muslim countries from obviously coming over here.
Oh, sure.
But there are certain countries, and Kelvin pointed this out as well, that he said during the campaign he called for an outright shutdown. He wants all Muslims banned, doesn't matter where they're from. But in this Muslim ban, something that I even questioned and found interesting, and I've already told you multiple times, John, and multiple other people, I do not trust Trump 100%. He must earn my trust. Just because I vote for somebody doesn't mean I have to trust them. I didn't trust Bernie 100% when I was a big Bernie guy. But he is allowing immigrants from Muslim countries, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Turkey, and there's also another country. He has businesses, John, in all of these countries. So is it a little bit odd that he's banning all Muslims from these different countries except for the 4 that he has businesses in?
That part is a little concerning. I'm okay for the ban of the Muslim countries. I'm not okay for the ban on Muslims, period. But he's not doing that. He's banning it on countries. That part the part that you're mentioning is a little concerning, and that deserves some looking into. But while this was going on, I got an alert on my phone that just happening now. A U.S. judge blocks part of Trump's deportation order. The federal government is barred from deporting travelers at U.S. airports with valid visas covered by President Donald Trump's executive order on immigration. A U.S. district court ruled Saturday evening, according to multiple media reports. Acting on a request by the ACLU, Judge Ann Donnelly of the U.S. District Court in Brooklyn issued a temporary restraining order covering some people stranded at U.S. airports. The ACLU filed this request on behalf of people from 7 predominantly Muslim countries: Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. The judge's decision turned on the risk of detainees being injured, being returned to their home countries, blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on. But I just thought that was curious. That happened just as we were talking about this, because apparently people were being stranded at some airports. But if they have a visa and they're good, they're going to go ahead and allow it. But the part of his businesses does concern me. I wasn't aware that was...
Yeah, I thought you were trying to deflect there for a minute. You had me worried.
Oh, I'm sorry, what was that?
I thought you were trying to deflect there for a minute. You had me worried.
No. I just think it's funny. I just read it, and I knew it had something to do with this, so I was learning about it as I was reading it. So I figured I'd do that on the air because it was coming across, and it had something to do with what we were talking about. No, the business thing, it does, but I didn't realize that was an issue. I hadn't seen that report anywhere, but that does kind of concern me. But I still think there should be a ban from those countries, regardless. I mean, if there's 4 countries he's protecting just because there's business there, we need to ban them too.
Well, John, you don't think it's unconstitutional if you look at the establishment clause? Well, the establishment clause in the First Amendment says that you can't establish a national religion by Congress.
We're not. We're not banning faith religion, Kelvin.
If you're
making sure we don't die,
out,
Kelvin.
Well, what he actually said was
he's keeping. We're banning them based on where they're coming from.
Not true.
From.
That's actually that's
true.
not true. No, actually, let me finish. Let me finish. He said that he was keeping Muslims out because these are all Muslim-majority countries. And then further, he said that he would allow Christian refugees to have priority. And he never said that about any Muslims. So, yes, he is keeping Muslims out.
No. And why should any Muslims get priority? We should definitely let the Christians have priority.
Why? No. If you're banning... Listen, if you're banning a country, why would their religion matter at all? Unless you're not banning a country and you're banning an actual religion. Because the Muslims have a history. The Muslims have a history right now of doing very bad things to us. That's why. It's just common sense. So you're agreeing. So right. You agree that he is banning a religion, right?
No. He's taking priority.
You just said
priority.
Making sure we don't die.
Yeah, but y'all both agree that this is a
priority. But that's not banning.
But he's not banning. You both agree that there's a religious test to determine whether these people get in or out, right?
I don't know.
What about a religious
test? I don't think it was a test so much to say, but you can find out a lot about people by questioning and like I said, the proper vetting.
So what you're saying is that dependent on their religion, it determines whether or not they can get in or out of the country.
No.
AKA,
Christians are just prioritized.
Which means it goes against the Establishment Clause, and that's what allows that New York judge to place that stay on his executive order.
No. I disagree. I totally disagree.
I mean, if he really wants to get it enacted, the best thing he could do is actually make it a countrywide ban. But by allowing those Christian refugees to be given priority, no, it's not, because he's giving Christian refugees priority, whereas Muslims are being deported. So no, he's not. It's not a country ban. It's a religion ban.
We're not deporting Muslims that are United States. No, if they're illegal, we're deporting them.
Actually, we are deporting people from the United States who are Muslim. So yes, we are. You can look up why that New York judge made that ruling. He can't make a ruling out of the blue. He has to have a case brought before him. The case that was brought before him was by somebody who had been living in the United States for 7 years, who had a house, had children. They got deported to Iran. They got deported to
Good.
Iran. They don't
Good.
live in Iran. They live in the United States.
Yeah, no, I don't want them here right now.
Yeah, I don't mind this. I don't mind any of this. With as many Muslims out here just murdering people left and right, just blatantly killing people, I don't have an issue with this whatsoever.
I don't either.
If we need to have deportations because we can't trust certain people, then let's go ahead and deport their ass, send them back overseas. I have no issue with it whatsoever.
Yeah,
America
we'll deal with
first,
it later. Yeah.
point blank, period. Yes. Moving on to
Absolutely.
the next executive order. Restructure the National Security Council and the Homeland Security Council. John, why don't you go first on this?
I don't know what happened here, to be honest with you. So much has gone on, and I've been launching ARC Media. I don't know about this one. So what did he do?
All right, let's go ahead and start with Kelvin then.
Well, I mean, personally, I don't know a whole lot about this, but I imagine with the Homeland Security bid, at least, it's just reflecting more on that Border Patrol issue, because, those would fall underneath the Homeland Security Department. So I imagine it has a whole lot to do with that and, this new war against Mexicans, immigrants, but I guess he can do what he wants to. He's the chief executive, but I don't see what the necessity is.
I wonder if it's not. I think Kelvin may be right. I wonder if it's just not reorganizing things a little bit, because I would think Border Patrol or Border Security would be under Homeland Security. I don't know. I think maybe that's just a reorganization. But Andrew, is there something you know about this that we don't?
Oh, absolutely not. I'm with you guys.
Oh, okay. To me, it sounds like a reorganization. To me, it just sounds like a reorganization of things to get his priorities in line, But Kelvin, now you would know this, Kelvin, or I think you would know this. Was Border Patrol already part of Homeland Security?
Well, actually, Homeland Security is actually it was created in 2001 after 9/11, so it's fairly new department. It's actually the newest department of the cabinet. So whether it has been or not, I'm not certain. I mean, I think it is because the Coast Guard is, and I know they protect our waterways. Yeah, they are now. They used to be a department of the military, so Department of Defense, but now they're a Department of Homeland Security entity. So, yeah, they do the waterways. Yeah, so they do waterways. So, yeah, I'd say Border Patrol has been in it since 2001.
Okay. I knew about, I knew the Homeland Security was the newest. I knew all that. I was around then. I was born in 1980. But I just didn't know if Border Security had ever been put underneath there. Because to me, it almost sounds like that was what he's trying to do. But if it's already under there, I'm not sure. I think it's just a reorganization.
Yeah, I just looked it up. They do fall under it.
It has since 2001?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know then.
All right. The next executive order that was signed, I mean, that was a long discussion that we just had, or mainly just you two just had, about something that none of us knew anything about. I just found it.
I thought maybe
the next executive order, the ban on administration officials working as lobbyists. John, can you take the first step on this one?
What the hell could possibly be wrong with this? I don't see how anyone could have an issue with this. Like, I just don't get it. What is wrong with banning them being lobbyists? I just don't get it. They should not be lobbyists. And this is going to include him. He's never going to be able to be a lobbyist ever. So I think it's a great thing. I'm trying to think of in what ways you could think that maybe this was a bad thing, but I just don't get it. I'd like to hear a reason.
Well, you won't get one from me. Like I don't see anything wrong with this. And I mean, this is something that Bernie, he kind of talked about, not directly, but getting money out of politics. And lobbyists are that real funnel towards the money. They bring the money from the lobbyist groups to the government. So getting them out would be great. But I think it kind of makes me wonder, on just kind of a side note, playing devil's advocate a little bit, how many of Trump's cabinet picks could be considered lobbyists? Like, I know Rex Tillerson, at least, Secretary of State pick. He was actually the CEO of ExxonMobil. Like, could that not be considered a lobbyist? Because he would be pulling for his company to do well. You know, so would that not be right? But would that not be contradictory to Trump's new law? He's like, hey, I'm going to pull a bunch of lobbyists into my cabinet, but then I'm going to ban it.
No, I think it's actually showing that he's being fair about it. He chose people not because they were lobbyists, though. He chose people because he knew about them and what he knew their strengths, and he put them in roles that he thought they would be strong in. That's what any leader do. You know, you pick. That's how you pick out your people. You have your pool of applicants, and you pick out who you think would be good in what areas. So he based that on whatever decision's in his head. I'm good with it. If they were lobbyists before, they sure as hell can't be a lobbyist now. He ruined that for him, which means that
it's just a 5-year ban.
The relationship between them was not based on lobbying power. It could not have been, because they would have never agreed to work under him. They would have never agreed to take those positions, knowing that they would have been banned from lobbying for their businesses. So it makes me feel even better about his choices. It makes me feel like it's not because they want the money, the lobbying power later on has nothing to do with that. So it makes me feel better about that. I get what you're saying, though.
Well, the thing is, I don't think it really affects them after the administration. It's just saying
it does.
You cannot you can't hire someone to your administration from a lobbying group, and it's a 5-year ban on that too. It's not even forever. Just saying they need to stop lobbying 5 years before I put them in my cabinet.
It's 5 years for Congress. It's lifetime for anyone that works in the White House. It's a lifetime ban for anyone that works in the House. 5 years for Congress. That's what it is. All
right.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to get back to the wall.
Oh, God, this damn wall.
This is what Donald Trump said. I love this wall discussion, man. This is what Donald Trump said a couple of weeks ago about the wall, how they're going to pay for it, how they're going to take care of everything, how they're going to build it, and blah, 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 blah. This is Donald Trump a couple of weeks ago discussing the wall.
Security, but I also want you to ask you about something you said on Twitter this morning. Are we living in Nazi Germany? What were you driving at there? Do you have a problem with the intelligence community? And on the Supreme Court, what's your timeline? You said a while ago you were down to 4. Have you conducted those interviews yet? What's your timeline for nominating? And on the border fence, it now appears clear U.S. taxpayers will have to pay for it up front. What is your plan to get Mexico to pay for it?
I got it. You have any more?
That's it.
On the fence. It's not a fence, it's a wall. You just misreported it. We're going to build a wall. I could wait about a year and a half until we finish our negotiations with Mexico, which will start immediately after we get to office, but I don't want to wait. Mike Pence is leading an effort to get final approvals through various agencies and through Congress for the wall to begin. I don't feel like waiting a year or a year and a half. I'm going to start building. Mexico, in some form, and there are many different forms, will reimburse us, and they will reimburse us for the cost of the wall. That will happen, whether it's a tax or whether it's a payment, probably less likely that it's a payment, but it will happen. So remember this, okay? I would say we are going to build a wall, and people would go crazy. I would then say, who's going to pay for the wall? And people would all scream out, 25,000, 30,000 people, because nobody's ever had crowds like Trump has had. You know that. You don't like to report that, but that's okay. Okay, now he agrees. Finally, he agrees. But I say, who's going to pay for the wall? And they will scream out, Mexico. Now, reports went out last week, oh, Mexico's not going to pay for the wall because of a reimbursement. What's the difference? I want to get the wall started. I don't want to wait a year and a half until I make my deal with Mexico. So, and we probably will have a deal sooner than that. And by the way, Mexico has been so nice. So nice. I respect the government of Mexico. I respect the people of Mexico. I love the people of Mexico. I have many people from Mexico working for me. They're phenomenal people. The government of Mexico is terrific. I don't blame them for what's happened. I don't blame them for taking advantage of the United States. I wish our politicians were so smart. Mexico has taken advantage of the United States. I don't blame the representatives and various presidents, etc., of Mexico. What I say is we shouldn't have allowed that to happen. It's not going to happen anymore. So in order to get the wall started, Mexico will pay for the wall, but it'll be reimbursed. Okay? Supreme Court judgment. So, as you know, I have a list of 20. I've gone through them. We've met with numerous candidates. They're outstanding in every case. They were largely recommended and highly recommended by Federalist Society. Jim DeMint was also very much involved in his group, which is fantastic, and he's a fantastic guy. So between Leo and Jim DeMint and some senators and some Congress people, we have a great group of people. I'll be making the decision on who we will put up for Justice of the United States Supreme Court, a replacement for the great, great Justice Scalia. That will be probably within 2 weeks of the 20th. So within about 2 weeks, probably the second week. I consider the first day because we'll also be doing some pretty good signings. And I think what we'll do is we'll wait till Monday. That will be our really first business day as opposed to doing it on Friday, because on Friday people are going to have a very good time at the inauguration. And then Saturday, as you know, we're having a big church service and lots of good things are happening. So our first day, and you'll all be invited to the signings, but we'll be doing some pretty good signings on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, and then also the next week. And you're all invited. But on the Supreme Court, I'll be making that decision, and it'll be a decision which I very strongly believe in. I think it's one of the reasons I got elected. I think the people of this country did not want to see what was happening with the Supreme Court. So I think it was a very, very big decision as to why I was elected.
So the White House on Thursday said that President Donald Trump is considering a 20% tax on imports from Mexico to pay for a southern border wall, that the president is still weighing other options. I don't know if I necessarily can get behind a 20% tax, because all that means is higher prices for us, everything that comes from Mexico. So I don't know if I necessarily could get behind that. Now, Mexico does have NAFTA renegotiations to worry about. That's going to be a big one. But when you look at the leverage that the United States has with the size of our economy and how much the Mexican economy depends on our economy, point blank period, ladies and gentlemen, Mexico is paying for that wall somehow, some way. I don't know how it's going to happen, but if Trump really has his heart set on Mexico is definitely reimbursing the American people for that wall, then Mexico eventually is probably going to reimburse the American people for that wall. Another thing I want to point out before I get to Kelvin and John, because I hear leftists say, and multiple leftists have used this argument, because, you know, all people on the left, they fall in line. Well, it's going to be impossible to build that wall. You have rivers, you have mountains, you have gun-toting Texans who are not going to give up their homes. They're not going to do it. The wall doesn't need to be built literally everywhere. There are going to be natural barriers, like this river that you name, like these mountains that you speak of. It's going to be pretty tough for illegals to get past these obstacles. Even if they do, you're going to have loads of Border Patrol everywhere 24/7. It's going to be a death wish. Good luck getting past these rivers and these mountains and this big-ass wall and these other natural barriers in an AK-47. So the wall is getting built. The wall is getting built. You can sit and bitch and cry and whine to all the leftists out there all you want. The wall is getting built. Mexico is eventually paying for that wall. And your crying is not going to do anything to stop it. Go ahead, John.
Well, I mean, you're right. That's why I was laughing, because some of the stuff you were saying was just hilarious. And it's so true. The wall's going to happen. And at the 20%, I get that it worries some people, but most of the only thing that we really get from Canada, and majority-wise, are from Canada. From Mexico, that we get a lot of is produce, okay? So, yes, it might hurt our produce sales, and that's fine. But the problem is that they depend on us for those for an outlet for their produce. They depend on us for an outlet for all their products. And if we're taxing it and people stop buying it here, their economy is going to be crippled, and they're gonna have a fall. So they can't survive that. So it's leverage. It's leverage. There's no way.
Another argument, though, I just want to point out real quick, John. I'm sorry to cut you off because I forgot to say something about the gun-toting Texans. A gun-toting Texan, chances are they're probably a conservative, which means they probably voted for Donald Trump, which means they probably support the wall. And even if they don't, nothing that a nice-sized check can't take care of. And quickly, as Donald Trump likes to say. But go ahead and finish your statement, John.
No, I mean, I you don't need to apologize for interrupting me for something like that, because you're absolutely right. Again, I just don't see. There's no stopping it now. So I mean, people are going to whine and complain about it.
Not.
But there's still no stopping it. They can whine and complain all they want, but it's still going to happen. So I don't know what their whining and complaining is going to do for them. I don't get it. You're right. I mean, but it's going to be beneficial, and it's going to put some people into work. I'm not saying it's going to put a lot of people into work, but it is part of an infrastructure package. And Donald Trump is big on infrastructure. And that's part of an important piece of infrastructure. Absolutely great points, Andrew. Absolutely.
Kelvin.
Yeah, I mean, well, to start off, you said that liberals have been screaming about these obstacles in the way.
No, not liberals, leftists. There is a huge difference between a leftist and a liberal. Leftist.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay.
We'll have to get into that later.
Okay, take it.
Absolutely.
You said leftist then, but actually that's not true. The person who originated that statement was Governor Rick Perry himself. So, he was the former governor of Texas, the state where most of this wall will be built. So I thought that would be interesting clarification. But 20% tax on imports from Mexico, it's really not as great an idea as he seems to think, because what that's going to do is going to hurt the lower and middle class who are buying these products, these produce, and then also the biggest import that we got from Mexico was actually automotives, the vehicles. So, I mean, this will hurt the lower class and the middle class, that one that Trump always claims he's trying to help out. So it's just another example of, Washington putting the burden of their silly spending on the middle class. And that's how it always is. When it's wars, when it's the stupid law, etc.
Here's the thing. They need to be buying American. If it's automobiles, they need to be buying American anyway. Okay? Number two, the 20% tax is not going to last all that long before Mexico says we can't survive like this. We'll deal with you, and then there will no longer be a 20% tax because they'll work out a deal at that point. So it's not like this is going to be. There's no way that Mexico is going to allow us to put a 20% tax on their imports into the United States forever. They just can't survive. So to think that that's going to be hurting a lot of people for a long time is just ridiculous. Their government would collapse. Their government would collapse if that 20% was on there for a length of time.
If we're going down this hypothetical road, you can just as easily take into account that China has the largest growing population in the world, and they have been for quite some time now. I don't think they would turn down anybody trying to sell food. I really don't think that would be the case at all. That would just be another case of China taking advantage of something that we could have had. And
but here's the thing.
These higher prices would fall on the middle class. They would be 20% higher.
Here's the difference between China and the United States as far as Mexican exports. It costs a hell of a lot more to export that stuff to China than it does to export it to the United States. A hell of a lot more.
If they don't have if they don't have a 20% import tax, I don't think the price difference would make much difference, honestly. 20%, that's a lot of money.
Well, John, let me ask you, John, with the possibility of this 20% tax on import goods, aren't you worried just a little bit? Because I will admit that I am. Aren't you worried just a little bit about the possibility of a trade war? We don't need a trade war right now with the state of the economy.
There won't be a trade war. I don't think Mexico can handle a trade war, and that's really all we're worried about. As far as China, we'll deal with China separately in their own way.
But that's the thing, though. Kelvin made a point, though. If China gets involved, one of the
They can't
largest
do anything.
economies in the world, that's going to help Mexico fight back against the United States, John.
Maybe, but here's the thing. China's not going to do that because China is heavily dependent on our economy, more so than they're dependent on Mexico's economy. Okay? So Mexico is heavily dependent on us, but those two aren't heavily dependent on each other. So
See,
they don't
that's
have
questionable,
that kind of
John.
They don't have that kind of leverage that we have with both of them.
Well, you realize that China owns most of our debt, right? Right after the Federal Reserve, of course.
That's actually huge leverage for us, to be honest with you.
No, it's not. What are you talking about? They own our debt. They own us. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
we
they don't
owe
want
them
us to
money.
default on that. Do you think they really think they want us to default on that? No. No. They want us to have a very healthy economy, so they can make money off of that.
So you're saying that if you owe Andrew money, then somehow he's worried about you. He has to follow your rules. That makes no sense. If you owe him money, you need to be worried about him.
You're talking about two people, and when you're talking about countries, talking about non-existent money that doesn't even really exist. And at the same time, one country is significantly typically dependent on the other one. I'm not dependent on Andrew. Andrew's not dependent on me.
Hey, if money doesn't exist, then I don't understand why Mexico would be worried about not giving us their products at all then, if you're going down that route.
No, you know exactly what I was saying about money that doesn't really exist. That's not backed by any paper bills at all. And that's what I mean, and you knew that's what I meant. So don't pretend like you didn't know that's what I meant. Leftists like to do that a lot, I know, but whatever. I'm using your own that you don't really mean when they know better. That's a typical.
No, what I'm saying is I'm using your logic against you, because when it's convenient for you, money doesn't matter. But when it is convenient, then suddenly money matters. The whole thing is money matters
when it matters, and it doesn't when it doesn't.
What does that even mean?
Because what you're saying, the whole me and Andrew relationship is totally different than the United States and China relationship. It's a different type of relationship, a different type of symbiotic thing altogether. You're making something that is not that simple.
But you don't realize by alienating a former ally, they will open the door to other people to step in where we once were. And China is a growing population that needs food for this population. And they have money. They own our debt. We are indebted to them, to China. Sure. You can't say they don't have the money to pay for the food. That's nonsense, especially when they don't have a 20% import tax.
But they won't. They won't.
How do you know this?
It's not necessarily that China doesn't have the money to pay for it. It's the fact that Mexico will not be getting the same profit margins that they're getting from selling it to the United States. That's the difference.
I mean,
that's probably true.
Well, look, if I've got to pay 20% to send my stuff to America, or I spend not 20% sending it to China, I think I'll pay for that shit.
But you don't say what 10% is.
Because I don't know. But I know it's not 20%. So I know I'll pay that.
I guarantee you it costs them more than 20% extra to send that stuff to China than it does to send it to the United States. I guarantee you it costs 20% more.
I'm very skeptical because you can make a flight 12 hours to get to China from Mexico. That's not the end of the world.
Transporting, and I know this because I used to be in this business as far as grocery goes. The produce doesn't work that way when we're talking about produce, number one.
Why not?
It's extremely expensive to ship produce from one state to another in the United States. That's expensive, let alone another country, let alone if you have to ship it overseas. It's not like sending a person on a plane or sending, U.S. mail on a plane to another country. It's not the same. There's a lot of regulations involved in produce. All
right, Kelvin, get the final statement, and then I want to move on.
John, you realize that's because of regulation and customs, right? I don't think Mexico or China is worried about customs and worried about regulations when they want to get food. I don't think that's their top priority in that case.
Yeah, but they don't need Mexico for their food.
All right, John. I mean, if I got extra food, I'll take it from wherever I can get it. So,
well, socialists normally
pretty
do
obvious.
say that because they don't want to wait in the breadline anymore.
Pretty common sense. If you can get it elsewhere, why not?
All right, so I want to go ahead and get to these. I want to go ahead and get to alternative facts. That's what I want to discuss next, because Sunday on Meet the Press on NBC News or MSNBC, one of them, or it might be CNBC, Kellyanne Conway, spokesperson for Trump, was on the show, and she had something interesting to say about Sean Spicer's comments, or no, it wasn't Sean. It was Sean Spicer, about the whole.
It was.
The Trump administration Trump had the biggest inauguration crowd size in history, point blank, period. You can't get around it. And this is what Kellyanne Conway had to say about that blatant lie.
Excuse, and you did not answer the question.
I did answer your question.
No, you did not. You did not answer the question of why the president asked the White House press secretary to come out in front of the podium for the first time and utter a falsehood. Why did he do that? It undermines the credibility of the entire White House press office on day one.
Don't be so overly dramatic about it, Chuck. You're saying it's a falsehood, and they're giving Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts to that. But the point remains.
Wait a minute. Alternative facts? Alternative facts, 4 of the 5 facts he uttered. Four of the 5 facts he uttered were just not true. Look, alternative facts are not facts. They're falsehoods.
Chuck, do you think it's a fact or not that millions of people have lost their plans, their health insurance, and their doctors under President Obama? Do you think
To be fair, the press has lied dramatically about Trump. They did it throughout the campaign. They're still doing it now, but it doesn't give the Trump administration the right to lie back. As far as the alternative fact statement, there's either facts or there's facts and then there's lies. There's no such thing as alternative facts. So, John, let me start with you. Since you're the hardcore Donald Trump supporter, and if I feel like that I don't like something that the Trump administration is doing, I am going to call them out for it. And I wrote a column about this, telling Trump supporters, please don't chill like Hillary Clinton supporters, because he lied. So, and that's another thing that I don't understand with the media. Why do they continue to call it a falsehood? Call it what it is, a lie. It was a blatant lie. But we'll get to that, to why. Okay, wait a minute. It's not a lie?
No, here, let me explain myself here. I'm going to start at the very beginning.
Please.
Number one, Kellyanne Conway was an idiot by saying that in the statement. Alternative facts, really, I will make fun of her until the day she dies about that. Like, seriously, that needs to be a meme. Because alternative facts, really, Kellyanne, like, that's just retarded. I totally agree. I knew what she meant.
Back to 1984.
I think 99.9% of the people knew what she meant. But alternative facts, really? I mean, that was the worst possible way she could have said that. Worst possible way she could have phrased that. And now I see why she wasn't chosen for press secretary.
Okay, so explain to us how it's not a lie.
Aside from that, what Trump was saying was the crowd size. And I think we talked about this last week anyway. But what Trump was saying on the fact size is when, and I don't think it's not a lie. We just we don't know. We will never be able to know. Because what he was saying is when you add in all the viewership, like Obama had a lot more people there in person in 2008. But Trump had a lot more people there watching on streaming services and connected devices and things like that because it wasn't.
But wait a minute, John. Are you correct about this? Was he talking about ratings or was he talking about crowd size? Because from what I remember, he was talking about the crowd size, not the ratings.
Right, and viewership is part of the crowd size because there's no ratings on streaming service. You can't rate. There's no ratings for that. So we don't know. I'm going to say he's probably right, but we don't know. So we can't say.
So John, are you really saying though that so what, in your opinion, who had the bigger crowd size? Not ratings, the bigger crowd size between President Donald Trump and the first black president of the United States, which is very historic. Who do you think had the bigger crowd size?
When you say crowd size, I'm going to take into account people that are viewing online and streaming devices and phones and tablets. So if that's not what you mean by crowd size,
even if that was the case, I would still have to give the leverage to Obama on that. It's the first black president, John. John, he was the first black president. That's history.
Well, I mean, but we don't know. We really don't know. I mean, we really don't know.
Kelvin.
I think Trump's online viewership probably way outdid. Well, I know his online viewership was more than what Obama's was, just because streaming wasn't as simple, as easy, or affordable back then. It just was not reasonable for a lot of people to do that. So now it is. So now people aren't going to need to travel and spend that currency to do that. So they're going to stay at home and watch it on their iPads and their iPhones and on their laptops and on their streaming television sets and all that. So
okay.
It's just you cannot say with 100% certainty one way or another.
Okay, so John, when you're talking about the crowd size, you're talking about TV ratings, online streams, the actual crowd size, all of this stuff.
Absolutely.
Kelvin, are you? Well, let me ask Kelvin. Kelvin, are you with me where I just feel like it's a little bit ridiculous to think that Trump had a bigger size than the first black president?
Oh yeah, without a doubt, man. I actually pulled some figures on this. In 2008, President Obama had more than 1.8 million people. You won't find any facts or figures other than out of Trump's administration that say anything that's over 900,000. So double at President Obama's first inauguration.
Those are people that were actually there. I'm talking about people watching it.
Yeah. Again, I'm not finished. Okay. So even on Obama's second inauguration, he had over 1 million people. So he still had more people on his second inauguration. But then if you look at viewership on TV, sorry about that. He had Trump had 30. No worries. I don't do that.
I don't know how you can't get ratings on streaming content.
But Trump had 31
streaming content.
Look, can you let me finish? So
no,
on TV, Trump had
streaming content.
John, let me finish my statement. Okay. So Trump had 31 million people that watched the inauguration on TV. President Obama had 38 million. And then when it goes to streaming, it says that Trump had, we had 17 million streams. Okay, in 2009, there were more than 21 million streams. So in every single format, Trump lost. There's no question.
No.
But in his statement, he was talking about crowd size at the inauguration physically. He did not say viewership. He said crowd size. No, he did. That's why I kept mentioning pictures. He didn't say a picture of who's watching on their TV screen. No, he was talking about people out in the crowd.
Right. Because the reason why he mentioned the pictures, let's be straight. The reason why he mentioned the pictures is because the photographs that all these liberal social media content places were putting out were photographs of his size before the inauguration started. They didn't show pictures of his crowd size after it started. That's why he got
John, we've already established that Obama had twice as many people at his inauguration, so it would not have mattered.
You can say
it would not have mattered when he took the picture. He could have took the picture during, while Obama took his 3 hours after, and it still would have been more people. You realize that?
Kelvin, he had significantly more people there after when his inauguration started than the pictures.
So you're saying that the pictures did not matter? You're saying the pictures did not matter?
Yes, they do.
If Obama no doubt had more than double the amount of people.
Again, you don't want to hear. You don't want
to hear the sleazy stuff. I just told you numbers. What are you talking about?
Once again, as simple as a picture, and you don't want to hear the sleazy stuff that the left has done to try to manipulate.
John, Obama had more than double the amount of people at his inauguration. It would not matter if the pictures were taken 3 hours before Obama and during the speech for Trump. It would have still been more people.
You're not listening to me, Kelvin. You need to stop.
What is there to listen to? I've seen numbers.
To me. You need to listen to me. Listen.
Okay,
listen.
Explain to me why having double
I know
means
this is going to blow your liberal
people.
mind because you hate it when liberals try to.
Please explain to me how 900,000 is more than 1.8 million. Please explain. Go ahead.
I never said that's what I'm saying.
Hey, explain your point, please. Please explain.
I wish you would shut up and let me talk. Okay.
Go ahead.
Now listen.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
I said in total, including, and I have several points here, so don't interrupt in the middle of my points, okay? Streaming everything. The streams that you mentioned that they're counting, that they counted in 2008 as well, are the single streams. They're not how many times the streams were shared and watched by other people. You can't get that number. It is impossible to get that number. Impossible. I don't care who you are. You can be your God Emperor Barack Obama. You still can't get those numbers. Okay? So we don't know. As far as people that were actually there in person, yes, there was more people there for Obama in person. Never said there wasn't. I don't know why you think I said that. I never said that. So stop trying to say that I said that, because I didn't. I said the pictures that the liberal media showed of Donald Trump's inauguration, when they were talking about his crowd size, they were trying to make it sound like it was pity. And it wasn't pity. Was it smaller than Obama's? Absolutely. But was it pity? No. The liberal media tried to make it look like he had maybe a handful of people there. So they showed this picture that they took about an hour before the inauguration even started, before the security was even letting everybody into all the areas. And that's the picture that they put on CNN and MSNBC and all these, and BuzzFeed and all these liberal news outlets. And that's what they were showing to try to make fun of his pissy audience. However, if you would have waited an hour later, when the security actually let all the people into those areas, the audience is actually much bigger than what the liberal media were trying to show. So they were trying to distort and trying to demean his crowds, rather than just trying to say that Obama had bigger crowds. If they just would have said Obama had bigger crowds in there in person, fine, absolutely. That's not what they try to do, though. They showed a picture that was distorting the facts, trying to make the whole thing look like a ridiculous sham. That is my point that I was trying to make. But the left doesn't see it. They don't see it that way. They will say, oh, blah, 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 blah. But he had more people, but Obama did have more. Yes, Obama did have more people there, damn it. We are not saying he didn't. Get off that argument. I don't
John,
want
let
to
me
hear that
ask
argument
you.
from another liberal.
Well, let me ask you, John. Trump's pick to lead the Office of Management and Budget also told the media that Obama had the bigger crowd size. A member of Trump's cabinet had said this.
As a person, people attending, absolutely. And people viewing, no.
I just don't
We
believe
don't know that. We don't know
John,
that.
can I get some citations on these claims, please?
What are you talking about? This is common sense. Why do I have to give a claim about a picture? We all see these pictures. I can't post a picture on the radio. I
didn't say that. I said citations. We're mentioning all these numbers that I imagine that you're getting from somewhere other than your ass. So you should have a citation for it.
I didn't mention one number in that statement I just made.
So you didn't tell me that Trump's crowd size was much larger than what it was said to be? So please
oh my
show
God,
me.
did you just totally
where did you
ignore
find
everything I just said?
No, I listened,
You
but
totally
I want to
ignored
see.
everything I just said, didn't you?
John, where did you?
I just said,
where did you
don't
get
bring up his size for his people that were there, because we know Obama's size was big.
John, where did you get your information? That is what a citation is. Where did you get your information?
Which piece do you want to know about? Because what you just asked me for, I did not ever say. So I don't have a citation because I never said it.
All right, so let me read this real quick. Let me read this real quick. Well, hold on. Let me read this real quick. I'll let you guys. Well, wait a minute, John. Wait a minute, John. I want to read this off real quick, and then I'll let you guys go back at it. So, according to crowd estimates and Nielsen ratings, this is from Heavy.com, by the way. According to crowd estimates and Nielsen ratings, Obama did have greater numbers than Trump in both crowd size and TV viewership. However, if you combine viewership and crowd attendance, Trump's inauguration was indeed one of the greatest, or one of the most watched, I should say, inaugurations of all time, and his live stream viewership may have been the greatest in all time, according to Forbes. Continue.
I don't know what else to say. He's telling me I said things I didn't say. I never said that the amount of people that were at the inauguration was bigger for Trump. I never said that. I never, ever said that. So I can't give you a citation for that because I never said it.
Again, I didn't say that either. You had said that somehow that Trump's statement that his crowd size was larger than what somebody had said. I would like to see what he said and what you're claiming. So therefore, you should be able to provide citations.
He is saying it was part. When he's saying it was larger than what people said, he was talking about that picture that the liberal media showed before they let all the people in secured areas, an hour or so before the thing started. That's what he was talking about.
John, have you ever been to an inauguration?
Oh my God, Kelvin.
I take that as a no. So let me tell you something. John, let me tell you something about an inauguration. When you are expecting near 1 million people to an inauguration, you do not open the gates 1 hour prior to. Those gates were open 3 to 4 hours prior to. You could get there basically whatever time that morning you wanted to.
Actually,
yeah, that's factual
because
I went there.
The gates were open early in the morning. However, they weren't letting people into certain areas until before the inauguration. The gates were open, absolutely. Trust me. I've seen the pictures. If you are going against what I've seen with my own 2 eyes,
so you saw pictures that you cannot provide citations for, whereas I actually went to an inauguration in 2012.
What do you want me to tell you? Rewatch the inauguration? I don't know what to
tell you. I want you to provide me citations like I've been asking you.
I'll provide you a link to YouTube where the inauguration is, and you can watch it again. I don't know. I mean, we can do that.
So you're going to be able to show me that they only allowed people into the inauguration 1 hour prior to, despite expecting million people.
Now, here's the thing. No. Now you've manipulated it. You've changed your argument a little bit to tailor it just to attack me, rather than actually attacking what the whole purpose of this was that, number one, he didn't lie. We don't know the numbers. We don't know the numbers. Number two, that photo that was circulated by the left media
what
was
photo
malicious.
are you even talking about, dude? I don't even know.
Have you not seen the photo?
I don't know why you assume that I am liberal media. I don't know what that is. Okay, I don't know what photo you keep proclaiming about. No, that's why I've been asking you for citations. Yes, that's what a citation means.
You don't know what that is. So you want to know
what
citation?
He literally has been asking you for sources the entire time.
Go to CNN, go to MSNBC. They've both aired this photo. Both of them.
Or, John, why can't you provide the photo, considering it's your argument point? You need to back up your own facts.
Because you can't. I don't understand. It's been everywhere. I don't see how you cannot.
John, are you providing alternative facts?
No. Yes, he is. Thank you.
No.
Yes, he is, because he cannot provide citations for his facts.
Thing. All you people out there, he's doing a typical leftist thing, trying to get away from the
typical leftist thing is to ask for you to provide the facts. So when somebody asks you to prove your point,
I think it was my own
therefore they are always
both left and right.
You would think, right?
The citation is me. I viewed it with my own 2 eyes. I don't know what to tell you. Do you want to get inside my brain, and go back in time?
Yeah, but your eyes are not statistics.
But we're not talking about statistics. What he was saying.
What?
He was talking about where's this photo been shown? Where's this photo been shown? It's been all over the media. All over the media. That's where that malicious photo was shown. The one that was significantly inaccurate because it wasn't taken at a proper time.
John, I love you, man, but John, I love you, man, but you sound like such a shield for Donald Trump.
No, I'd love for someone to call in right now that's listening to the show, because this is not shilling. This is defending from a malicious attempt by the left to designificatize his inauguration, to try to make it a non-significant event.
But even Nielsen ratings said that he had the higher crowd and the higher viewership.
And I said this. I'll say it again. I don't know how many times I have to say this on this radio show. I don't know what part of this you and Kelvin aren't getting. I never, ever, 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 ever said that Donald Trump had more people at his inauguration than Obama. Never. Never said there was more.
That's not what we said.
Never said that. Never said that. I never,
Again,
ever,
that's not
ever,
what we
ever,
said.
ever said that.
That's not what we said. That's not what we
said. He said. That's exactly what Edgar just asked. Exactly what he just asked.
You realize that Trump's statement was that his inaugural crowd size at the mall on Washington was larger than any other.
No. He was including when he said that, and he's mentioned this before. Since then, he said it on Fox News the other day. He was on with I forget who. He said his intent in saying that was including online streaming and the whole shebang.
So when he said crowd size at the inauguration on the mall on Washington, he
did not say on the mall on Washington, number one. He means at the inauguration and not at the inauguration, right? That's what he means? Well, they were there with him. They were there with him through the internet.
Oh, so they were there with him in spirit. Okay, I get it. I get it.
I'm glad you
that
get
makes
it
sense.
finally now. I'm glad you get it now.
No, I'm being facetious. That's bullshit, and you know it. He did not mean people sitting in their living rooms. He said the crowd size. At no point
does
the crowd size mean someone that's not even in the crowd. The basic tenet of that statement say crowd.
That's not what he meant. He said that's not what he meant. What else do you want the guy to say?
I mean, really, I don't think it's a big deal, but the fact that he continued to harp on about it as the president of the United States shows that he thought it was a big deal. This is why I brought the picture. The reason he harped, and this is why I brought the picture. But you didn't bring a picture. This is why he was talking about the picture. I've asked you to bring a picture. You have not brought a picture. So, no, you have not provided any of that.
How can you bring a picture on radio?
Well, you just now said, and I quote, and that is why I brought a picture. And then now you say, how can you bring a picture
onto radio because that's not how pictures work. You can't hear a picture.
So what you're saying is that you're contradicting just as bad as Trump.
No. You can't hear a picture. You're the one that's wanting me to make a picture somehow visible through sound waves. I don't know what kind of science that is, but whatever.
John, you know as well as Andrew does that we have a group chat open right now where you can provide any citations to any of the alternate facts that you're stating on the air.
Actually,
you realize
I can't do that right now. Because I had to switch devices so I could hear better. So I can't.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Oh, man.
I can't believe you're not seeing this picture the leftist media was putting out. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
I don't just watch leftist media in my free time. I don't even know what that is, okay?
Well,
why do you... I don't know. I have not seen it. I have not seen it, John.
That surprises me.
I mean,
they were making a huge deal about it.
Had I seen it, I probably wouldn't be asking you to provide citations. I wouldn't be asking you to provide that proof.
I'll show it to you after the show's over, but that won't help for this conversation.
Of course not.
All right, so there was a debate earlier on, though, about this whole thing of what specifically Sean Spicer was talking about. Was he talking about the crowd size? Was he talking about the TV ratings? This is Sean Spicer. This is his statement about this.
Photographs of the inaugural proceedings were intentionally framed in a way, in one particular tweet, to minimize the enormous support that had gathered on the National Mall. This was the first time in our nation's history that floor coverings have been used to protect the grass in the mall. That had the effect of highlighting any areas where people were not standing, while in years past, the grass eliminated this visual. This was also the first time that fencing and magnetometers went as far back on the wall, preventing hundreds of thousands of people from being able to access the mall as quickly as they had in inaugurations past. Inaccurate numbers involving crowd size were also tweeted. No one had numbers because the National Park Service, which controls the National Mall, does not put any out. This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe. Even the New York Times printed a photograph showing that a misrepresentation of the crowd in the original tweet in their paper, which showed the full extent of the support, depth, and crowd and intensity that existed. These attempts to lessen the enthusiasm of the inauguration are shameful and wrong.
So he was talking about the crowd size and the rating. And
he did mention the National Mall quite a few times also. So I thought that was noteworthy since John said he never said it.
We were talking about Trump never said it. We were not talking about his press secretary. We were talking about Trump, Donald Trump. Donald Trump and his press secretary, two different people.
Well,
Right.
John,
So
let me
his press
ask you
secretary's-
this. John, let me ask you this. And this is something that I kind of want to shift the conversation towards about this whole thing.
Please, because this is really stupid.
John,
this
you
is
made
really
a
a stupid
statement.
thing to argue about.
Well, no. We're going to stay on this. I don't find it stupid. I find this a very fascinating conversation.
Really?
Last weekend, you called Glenn Beck, what was it, a nutcase? You said he was a nutcase. Well, according to Glenn Beck, the nutcase, and his sources within the Trump campaign, Donald Trump in the White House lied to the media on purpose about the inauguration crowd size. He did it on purpose, and they knew that this was going to be such a ridiculous of a statement that he knew that the media would be feeding on it for days. And while everybody in the media are over there and they're doing their little fact-checking, he's over here on the other side signing all of these executive orders and overloading the system, getting real work done. So basically he played the media. This is according to Glenn Beck's sources. So the fact that now we do know if these sources are accurate, and Glenn Beck has been right in the past, so I don't see why he wouldn't be right about this either. They lied on purpose, John.
I don't see. I think again. I want to know who Glenn Beck's sources are, and I think the guy's a nutcase. I don't think that's what happened.
Well,
Trump doesn't
right
need
before.
to do that. Here's the thing: Monday through Saturday, today.
He's a nutcase because he doesn't fit your narrative.
Wait. You want me to answer to it? I'm going to answer to it. What's going on between Monday and Saturday?
No. You have already answered. The way you answered last weekend is how you're answering now. Yes, he's a nutcase. You think he's a nutcase because he doesn't fit your narrative. You're being a shield.
I think he's a nutcase. I just think the guy's a nutcase.
John, you're being a shield. You're disappointing me as a right-winger. You are being a shield.
I'm using common sense and logic instead of trying to come up with all these silly little nitpicky things to make it look wrong.
Statistics and crowd size estimates and numbers and facts, those are all just silly little things.
Sources.
Except they don't prove what you're trying to say.
Sources, citations, providing facts. Who needs those?
A picture. I will show you a damn picture. I told you I will show you a picture, and you're going to be like, oh, I didn't know that they were sharing that picture. That is bad.
I mean, the actual statistics have shown that Trump has had around 900,000 people, while President Obama had 1.8 million people. So, again, whatever the picture is, it really doesn't matter.
Oh, my God. This
it
is
does not.
Number 20 on this podcast, people.
Listen.
How many times I tell you? I'm not talking about
John, it does not matter. John, it does not matter how many people that picture show. It's without a question less than what Obama had. So Trump's statement and Sean Spicer's statement are wrong, regardless of what the picture shows.
I never heard
and they did it on purpose. They lied on purpose, John. They lied. They lied.
Wait. I want you to repeat that piece that Sean Spicer just said, though, Andrew, because I don't believe he ever said that in person, there was more people there than Obama. He said,
Andrew,
photographs of the inaugural proceedings were intentionally framed in a way, in one particular tweet, to minimize the enormous support that had gathered on the National Mall. This was the first time in our nation's history that floor coverings have been used to protect the grass in the mall. That had the effect of highlighting any areas where people were not standing, while in years past, the grass eliminated this visual. This was also the first time that fencing and magnetometers went as far back on the wall, preventing hundreds of thousands of people from being able to access the mall as quickly as they had in inaugurations past. Inaccurate numbers involving crowd size were also tweeted. No one had numbers because the National Park Service, which controls the National Mall, does not put any out. This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe. Even the New York Times printed a photograph showing that a misrepresentation of the crowd in the original tweet in their paper, which showed the full extent of the support, depth, and crowd and intensity that existed. These attempts to lessen the enthusiasm of the inauguration are shameful and wrong.
So there you go, John.
Exactly. He never said it. He never ever said that there's more people personally in attendance than there was at Obama. Never said it.
He said in person. He said in person and online.
And around the world, yes. Total.
In person and online, both platforms.
He included them both.
Andrew, I'm pretty sure that there's nothing you can find that John will ever disagree with Trump on.
It seems that way. So let's move on to another one and see how John feels about this. This is Donald Trump came out with a statement that 3 to 5 million illegal immigrants cost him the popular vote, and the media had pressed them, as they should. The media had pressed Sean Spicer about this.
I believe that millions voted illegally in this election, and what evidence do you have of widespread voter fraud in this election, if that's the case?
The president does believe that. He has stated that before. I think he stated his concerns of voter fraud and people voting illegally during the campaign, and he continues to maintain that belief based on studies and evidence that people have presented to him.
But exactly what evidence? Speaker Ryan today said there's no evidence. The National Association of Secretaries of State say that they don't agree with the president's assessment. What evidence do you have?
As I said, I think the president has believed that for a while based on studies and information he has.
Sean, when you were talking about that voter fraud, are you going to ask for an investigation? Is the White House going to formally ask for a probe into this alleged
I think he won very, very handily with 306 electoral votes, 33 states. He's very comfortable with his win, but I think...
It trouble him if he's bringing it up.
I think he was having a discussion with some folks and mentioned something in passing, which has been a long-standing belief that he's maintained. This isn't the first time that you've heard this concern of his. Trey?
No, but I think it's worth clarifying whether illegal ballots or illegal immigrants...
I think there's been studies. There was one that came out of Pew in 2008 that showed 14% of people who have voted were non-citizens. There's other studies that have been presented to him. It's a belief he maintains.
If 3 to 5 million people voted illegally, that is a scandal of astronomical proportions. Doesn't he want to restore Americans' faith in their ballot system? Wouldn't he want an investigation of this?
Well, this is but Mara, as I've noted several times now, he's believed this for a long time, and I think he won fairly overwhelmingly. So he's not. And look, I'm
asking you, why not investigate something that is the biggest scandal in American electoral history? 3 to 5 million people voting illegally.
I think we'll see where we go from here. But right now, the focus that the president has is on putting Americans back to work. It was a comment that he made on a long-standing belief.
You said the president believes that there was voter fraud. I wonder if you believe that. You were at the Republican National Committee at the time, and Chief of Staff Reince Priebus was the chairman of the RNC at the time. Do you believe there was widespread voter fraud?
My job is not.
How can he be comfortable with his win if he believes there was 3 million votes? Maybe he didn't win.
No, he's very comfortable with his win. It's an electoral-based system. You got 306 electoral votes. 33 of 50 states voted for him. I think, look, Jeff, I've asked him to answer this question twice. He believes what he believes based on the information he's provided. Yes, ma'am.
What does that mean for democracy, though, Sean? What does that mean? If he does believe that, what does that mean for democracy?
It means that I've answered your question.
Have you?
You said that the president has believed for a while that there is widespread voter fraud, but only 4 days ago did he get the power of the presidency to be able to do something about it. So why not definitively say that he will investigate if he believes in the administration's position is that there was massive voter fraud?
Well, first of all, the comment that he made was he said 3 to 5 million people, could have voted illegally based on the studies that he's seen. But he's very clear that he won the election based on the 306 electoral votes that he got. We're here on day 2. I think let's not prejudge what we may or may not do in the future.
If he lost, would he be upset?
Of course he'd be upset. Who wouldn't be upset if they lost?
But he's not upset. I mean, about the vote.
No, that's not how the election is held in our country by electoral votes. He won overwhelmingly with 306 electoral votes, the most since any Republican since Reagan. He's very comfortable with the depth and breadth of the support that he got from the American people and the 33 states that voted for him, the 9 of 13 battleground states, the 2,600 counties. He's very, very pleased with that.
I just want to be clear about this investigation because it seems like you've potentially opened the door for one. Have you discussed with the president the possibility of possibly investigating this voter fraud?
No, I didn't. I did not. No, I did not.
You said it's possible.
No, of course, anything's possible. I think at some point, look, I was asked a question. There is no investigation. I said it was possible. Anything is possible. It was a hypothetical question. My point to you is that to ask us on day 2, he made a comment last night on something that he has believed and said for a long, long time. And the question that was asked to me is whether or not, so it's been asked and answered. I'm not.
All right, so first off, before anybody says anything, first off, I love Sean Spicer. I'm going to love the next 4 years of watching this guy battle the press and vice versa. It's going to be a sight to see for the next 4 years. But, now, John, I understand the whole concept of what Donald Trump is talking about throughout the entire election. We saw the multiple reports of dead people being registered, the possibility of illegal immigrants voting. With my emotions and just thinking about it right off at the top of my head, do I believe that happened 3 to 5 million? I'm not sure if it's that high, but I do feel like that there were a lot of illegal immigrants who voted. Democrats have been proven to use minorities for power and control. Their compassion is completely fake, but I get that. But when you think critically, and as a journalist, and it is my job and my duty to go by facts, there is no factual basis to support a claim of 3 to 5 million illegal immigrants voting and screwing up the popular vote. So, John, I want to ask you, do you agree with me when I say it's a bit reckless for the President of the United States, of all people, to make this claim with no facts to support it?
I think he should have only made that claim if he intended to fully investigate it. Absolutely. If he really thinks that, and if he really has some kind of evidence somewhere that that's the number, then he needs to investigate it. And I will be upset if he doesn't.
Apparently they are launching an investigation soon, according to Trump.
Are they or are they not?
Trump tweeted they are.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Trump had tweeted that they are.
Okay. I was going to say, if he's going to keep claiming that number, because I'm with you. I think it's probably happened. It's probably always happened. I don't know what the number is. I think it probably increases every election. I don't know that. What is that, 3.8 million? That's a lot. I mean, I don't know. But if he has some kind of insider information, then damn it, he better investigate it. And if he doesn't fully investigate it, I'm going to be pissed. That's my stance on that. I don't
surprisingly unbiased from you.
What do you mean? I've always had that stance.
Well, it's just I've always heard you shield for Trump. It's just surprising to hear me
because he's mostly right. Because I mostly agree with him. We'll see what happens. He might even win this too.
So,
if he has an investigation and it comes out he's right.
You and Kelvin just had a 30-minute argument about the inauguration crowd size, and you were sitting there saying that it was bigger than the first black president.
I did not say
that's a shield move,
total.
John.
I said total. I did not say in president. I have to say this again. My God, how many times do I have to say?
Nielsen ratings disagree with you is what I'm saying. Statistics are not on your side.
They don't take in the streaming. They don't take into consideration the streaming. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, and if you're talking about how many people were actually there, then absolutely Obama had a bigger crowd. I said that over and over again. Don't know how many times I had to say it. Don't know how many times I have to say it. Like, I just don't. I said it over and over again. In terms of people that were actually there, present, obviously Obama had a bigger crowd. Obviously. Again, I'm going to say it again, just so we can be clear. Obviously, President Obama had a bigger crowd, a bigger amount of people at his inauguration presently there, standing on that ground, than Trump. Do I need to say it another time before you guys get it through your heads?
I would like you to provide some facts. I would like you to provide some citations for your astounding
Yes, I want sources.
You want sources for Obama's inauguration being larger?
Well, Nielsen ratings disagree with you, is what I'm saying. Nielsen ratings disagree.
So Nielsen ratings say that Trump had a bigger crowd there. So Nielsen ratings say Trump had a bigger crowd there.
No, Nielsen ratings say that the TV viewership is higher.
Did you just listen to what I just said? Did you just listen? It's like you guys don't hear me, or like you totally
No, we hear you.
I said,
but if you're making a statement, you need to be able to provide facts to back up your statement, which you're not doing.
So you don't agree then that Obama had larger crowds at the inauguration?
No, I do. And we've already said this.
Here's my statement. I'm making it again, and listeners are going to laugh at you two. I'm going to make it again. Obviously, Obama had a larger crowd in attendance personally at his inauguration than Donald Trump. Do you want sources for that? Do you disagree with that?
No.
Okay,
I can provide you sources. That was my statement, John. You can't just switch sides on the argument now.
I'm not. Oh, my God. I've been saying that. I've said that many, many times this entire broadcast. I've said that many, many times. Entire broadcast. I've said the exact same thing. However, when you
let's have another test with this. First, I'm gonna read this stuff off. I'm gonna ask Kelvin his thoughts on it, and then let's see how John responds, if he pulls a shield move or if he's unbiased on this. All right. This media blackout. The Trump administration has instituted a media blackout at the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Interior, and the Department of Agriculture. Sean Spicer said he had no information whatsoever when asked about this. I'm extremely worried about censorship of the press. Kelvin, do I have a right to be concerned?
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, because, ideally you would want the facts to be coming out. It shouldn't be based on the administration. There should not matter who's at the top of it. It should only matter that they're pushing facts. So to silence it so that you can get them all on the same page of what alternative facts you're allowing them to push out, it should worry everybody, without a doubt, no question.
John?
I think everyone should always be worried about that. Since the beginning of time, since we've had press, it should be
so
a
Trump
concern
does
for
have
everybody.
you worried?
Not necessarily about this. I have to see what happens. We'll have to see what happens. Like as Spencer said, he doesn't know, or Spicer said he doesn't not sure what. And here's the thing. And I know you said you like Spicer. I so far do not like him. I think he's going to go.
I love him.
He's going to be fired very quickly.
It's not because I feel like it's not because I feel like he's a good pick. He's just funny and entertaining. It has nothing to do with his field. Just pure entertainment. That's where that opinion came from.
I don't know that he's even entertaining, but we'll see.
Oh, he is.
I think Trump is going to end up firing very quickly. I think Trump is going to end up firing.
I can see that.
I don't know where this media blackout thing happens, and of course, if it does happen, I don't like it. But I do know that Trump has added streaming options, virtual. I don't want to say streaming, but virtual press passes, basically. To open up the amount of media that can be into press conferences. So, some of these smaller guys and whatever can have a chance to
but
be
John,
there.
why is there media blackouts at government agencies when the citizens of the United States have a right to know everything?
Do we know if there's a blackout, though? Because Spicer's saying no.
That's what the email said, that they were going on a media blackout.
Has there been a media blackout? Has it
Yes.
occurred?
Yes, the EPA hasn't posted. The EPA hasn't posted anything on its Twitter since the day before inauguration.
I wouldn't call that a media blackout. Media blackout would be if they weren't allowing questions from the press, not if they weren't allowing themselves to talk.
They have made no public announcements whatsoever.
Well, that's on them then, not on the press. The press needs that.
So you think they just voluntarily spread information to the public prior to the inauguration, but after this email was leaked, they suddenly shut the hell up voluntarily, right?
It's only a violation of the freedom of press if they're keeping the press, and that's what I want to know. Are they keeping the press from asking questions?
Yes, that's part of a blackout. They're not allowed to speak to the press at all.
Do you have proof they're not speaking to the press? Speaking on Twitter, speaking publicly, not to the press.
Are you not listening at all?
Twitter is speaking to the public. It's not speaking to the press. I want to know, are they speaking to the press?
Andrew just said there was an email telling their plans to have a media blackout. Are you listening at all?
They're planned. Has it happened?
Well, considering they have not spoken to the press, then yes. What are you talking about?
But has the press, no, they haven't spoken to the press, but has the press tried to speak to them? That's what I want to know.
Why would the media not try to talk to them, John?
When the press tries to speak to them and they say no, then we'll go from there.
Okay, well, he is shilling, Andrew. You're right. You're right. He is shilling again.
He's being a
How is
tremendous.
that shilling? I want to. Okay, so you obviously haven't blocked the press. Then, if the press is still allowed to go to them and ask questions and report on it, then the press is still free.
So you think,
John, you do realize that I voted for Trump, right? You do realize I love Donald Trump. That is my guy. But let's be honest
he's not my
about
guy.
this stuff. Shilling is not going to do anything good for this country. Our allegiance needs to be with the United States, not Trump, John.
This is not shilling. If this was Obama, I'd be like, has it happened yet? Anyone could come. I mean, has it happened? Is it happening? If it's going to happen, then we need to stop it. But I mean, we don't know that it's happening.
I don't think anybody believes.
Well, Steve Bannon has already said that he wants a war with the media. This is just the beginning.
He said what?
Steve Bannon has already said that he wants a war with the media. This is the beginning.
Well, there needs to be a war with the media, but there doesn't need to be a blackout.
So how do you have a war then?
Here's the thing. You can have a war in the media, but when you know that they're saying false things, you call them out on it publicly, like Trump has been doing. You don't just let it fly. That is kind of where I think they're taking the war, I think. And then people like us, we have a war in the media by starting our own media entities and doing our own thing. That's how you have a war in the media without blacking them out. And I think that's what's going on. I think I don't see any evidence that a blackout has occurred. I don't see any evidence. I mean, give me evidence where someone like CNN or something went to those departments and were denied asking questions. Then that's evidence.
Well, considering how the Trump administration ordered their employees not to talk to the media, John, that's coming straight from Trump.
The business, Trump? His businesses?
Oh, my God.
Are you talking about his administration?
You being the shield. Oh, my God.
Hey, John.
No, there's a difference.
John, I'm reading on Fox News. A credible source, according to you, Fox News also says there's a media blackout. It's a media blackout on the
Only
EPA.
when it fits your narrative.
Absolutely.
He said there was a source, but they didn't say that that's what's going on. We don't know what's going on until a media entity, Fox, MSNBC, CNN, whoever. It's not a media blackout. We don't know that that's going on until one of those people go to one of those departments and ask to speak to them, ask questions, and those departments say no.
John.
That is a media blackout.
Actually, John, further in that...
Wait a minute, though. John, do you understand, why I have called you?
If it's happened,
but wait a minute, John. John, wait a minute. Do you realize why I've called you a shield so many times on the show? Because you remember during the campaign how we used to make fun of Hillary supporters, where it's the FBI investigation, Benghazi, or whatever it might have been with Hillary Clinton. They would always defend Hillary. Oh, Queen Hillary. Hillary can't do any wrong. Oh, bleep the FBI. And now they literally defended everything that Hillary Clinton did that was wrong, and now you're literally doing the same thing for Trump.
No. There's a difference, because we had clear evidence and proof that Hillary did these things, and those are the things that they were trying to defend. Clear proof, clear evidence. So an email from the Trump administration is not proof. I can't defend nor attack Trump on a media blackout thing because we don't know if it's happened. I can't.
Well, actually, John, further in that article on FoxNews.com, it says staffers in EPA's Public Affairs Office are instructed to forward all inquiries from reporters to the Office of Administration and Resource Manager, a.k.a. White House office. So not the most inspiring time at EPA right now, but we're fighters, said the EPA staffer who would only speak on condition of anonymity.
Well, he's probably getting rid of the EPA, which I hope happens.
So you agree that it is a media blackout? So you agree it is a media blackout now?
So they would, but they spoke to them.
So they spoke to an EPA staffer who would only speak on the condition that they did not release his name. And he affirmed that there was a media blackout. But
did
you
he
still
say there
deny
was a
the
media
fact.
blackout? Did he say there was? What do you say again? Say it to me again.
Oh my God, John.
I really am having trouble.
Staffers in the EPA's Public Affairs Office, the office that deals with the Public Affairs Office, are instructed to forward all inquiries, aka questions, from reporters to the White House.
Okay.
That means they are not allowed to answer them. John, anything?
I'm listening. Keep on going.
That was the part.
No, there was more to it than that. Keep reading.
After that, it was a direct quote. Yeah, John, Lord, man. Okay. After that, the EPA staffer continues to say, not the most inspiring time at the EPA right now, but we are fighters. And it said he would only speak on the condition of anonymity, meaning that if they said his name, he didn't speak to them.
And there's the only people that can respond is Trump himself.
Yep. Says everything that.
Has anyone went to them and tried to talk to Trump and ask him what was going on? Has anyone went to the Trump administration and asked what was going on?
Yeah, John, we have just went over this. Yes, they asked the press secretary.
So what did the
who
Trump
did not
administration say about it? What did the Trump administration say about it?
Listen to me. The press secretary denied knowledge. John, you are a shield, man, and I don't even use that word very often, but you are definitely, like, definition. It would have your picture next to it.
I just want to know what happened.
Oh, my God.
John, you're a bit of a shield. Let's just be honest.
No.
John, I'm with you. John, I'm on the right wing with you. I love Trump just like you do, but you're being a shield.
Did I say you weren't? I did not say you weren't.
No, I'm trying to tell you that I have no reason just to sit here and calling you a shield. I'm calling you a shield because you're being a shield.
No.
Yes, you are.
If we find out that there was a media blackout, I will not be happy. And I definitely am against it.
John, I'm more critical of President Obama than you have been of President Trump at any part.
Heck no.
Agreed.
Name one thing that you disagree with Obama. Name one thing you disagreed with Obama on. Something major.
Oh, there's been multiple things that Kelvin has said.
Yeah, bombing those 7 countries, continuing the war, keeping Gitmo open. I mean, what else do you need, man? I've constantly been critical of his
decision. He wanted to close Gitmo. He just wasn't able to. So you don't really disagree with him on that. He just wasn't able to.
No, he was able to. He could have transferred those prisoners elsewhere, and he chose not to.
I don't think he had time.
Because he was trying. He had been in office for 8 years, and that was one of his first campaign promises. So he had 8 years to do it. So he definitely had time. The only thing is he was trying to keep amends with the Republicans. And if he wanted to do it, though, he definitely had the authority. He just chose not to.
I don't think he was trying to keep any kind of rapport with any Republicans because he doesn't really have much. My point is,
that's what
all I'm saying is, and here's why I asked so many questions about this specific instance, because I haven't heard anything about this myself. So I have to ask you what's going on in order to understand what's going on, right? And I will say it again. If there is a media blackout, I'm 100% against it. There doesn't need to be a media blackout. However, if the EPA is supposed to be non-existent in a couple days, then they're not existent to even worry about. So
what about the Department of Agriculture? What about the Department of Agriculture?
Has there anyone went to the Department of Agriculture and asked them these questions?
John, it's the same story for both of them. They were all included in the media blackout.
Oh, so there's another report about someone going to the Department of Agriculture and they spoke on the condition of anonymity as well?
John, media blackout on the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Interior, and the Department of Agriculture. That is not just a one-person rule. That is for the entire agencies, all 3 of them.
But you said that.
And that's actually what Andrew said at the very beginning of this.
But you said that person said that they were speaking from the EPA, and it was a very gloom day at the EPA or whatever. You
Right.
didn't say anything
but
about
you
the other
did-
departments they interviewed.
Exactly. Okay. Well, from that logic, then you agree that the EPA is on a media blackout, right?
Either that or they're about ready to be eliminated, and I hope they're about ready to be eliminated.
So you actually agree that they're on a blackout? Wow.
I believe
Good for you, John.
I agree with them being eliminated. We don't need an EPA.
So you don't agree that they're on a media blackout then?
I don't know. We'll find out, won't we?
So
but if they are,
if you
I don't like
agree,
it.
if you don't agree from the Fox News article that they're on a media blackout, then what would be my incentive to provide you another article saying that the Department of Agriculture is on a media blackout? Why would I do that? You wouldn't believe it anyway.
Oh, no, that's different because he has never said he was going to eliminate the Department of Agriculture.
Yeah,
he has
man.
He has said he might eliminate the EPA. He's never said that about the Department of Agriculture. That's the difference.
So he just puts them on a media blackout for the fun of it then. That's all good.
If it's the Department of Agriculture, yes, and I disagree with that as well. If he plans on keeping the EPA, if they plan on staying around and and they're not allowed to talk, that's not good either. I don't like that either. But I have a funny suspicion the EPA is about to go bye-bye or be drastically changed, drastically reorganized, drastically different. That's what I think is going on with the EPA.
One day I'm going to find a single topic that you disagree with Trump on. One day.
Well, you already found one in the show earlier.
What?
What was it? I don't remember. I really don't.
See, of course.
But there was something that
I think it was the voter
I
fraud.
disagreed. Do what?
I think it was the conversation about voter fraud.
No, that too. But there was something else towards the beginning. But the voter fraud, and I'll be pissed off if he keeps saying those numbers
John,
and doesn't try to actually investigate it.
John, you have shielded for 2 hours.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, you have. Yes, you have.
No, absolutely not. I've used facts and logic.
But you can't provide citations.
Common sense.
And alternative logic.
Sense. And I don't assume
alternative.
What I'm finding out now is the left likes to assume a lot. The left likes to assume a lot. They assume things that they shouldn't assume. Because you know what happens when you assume things?
So I assume numbers. Okay.
You just can't assume. If there's a media blackout, I don't like it. I'm against it. We don't know that there is. We're waiting to see if it's going to happen.
We'll be back next weekend here on Unpopular Popularity. Me, John, and Kelvin. You get to hear me and Kelvin be unbiased journalists, and John Steele for 2 hours every weekend. You get to hear that. SouthBeachTimes.com, also arcmedia.org. We're syndicated on there. You can also get the show on iTunes. John, I'm sorry, man, but just please.
Shut the hell up!